Hello, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome to another Presentation Wizards podcast. I am your host, Peter Ward. The subject of this podcast is the 1988 National Democratic Convention keynote speech by Ann Richards.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Buenas noches, mis amigos. I'm delighted to be here with you this evening because after listening to George Bush all these years, I figured you needed to know what a real Texas accent sounds like.
Speechwriters can agonize over the best way to express their ideas using special techniques here and the perfect choice of words there. Yet there is one skill that is invariably more important than any other. Be yourself, authentic. Ann Richards had this in abundance. Her speeches were never less than genuine, never less than true to herself.
12 years ago, Barbara Jordan, another Texas woman, Barbara made the keynote address to this convention, and 2 women in 160 years is about par for the course. But if you give us a chance, we can perform. After all, Ginger Rogers did everything that Fred Astaire did. She just did it backwards and in high heels.
Ann Richards belonged in Texas. She ate it, breathed it, and was part of it. She said, quote, "After listening to George Bush all these years, I figured you needed to know what a real Texas accent sounds like," unquote. In one key jokey line, she established her credentials and authenticity instantly with the audience and undermined her opponent with the implication that he was, in her view at least, a false wannabe. A tireless and astute campaigner for women's rights, Ann Richards used the opportunity to make the point that women are still not fully represented or listened to, commenting on the only other female to give a keynote address at a Democratic convention 12 years previously. Ann Richards said, quote, "2 women in 160 years is about par for the course," unquote. The wry, humorous delivery added to the seriousness of her point while making it accessible to those people that may not be entirely comfortable with the issue. In politics, it is often about the most successful way of achieving your goal. By relating your points to an everyday activity, such as basketball, you can connect with your audience on a fundamental level. Ann Richards did this naturally, in a directly talking just with you, not at you, moment. She really captured what many politicians seek but are rarely able to achieve: a true connection with the people. These things cannot be forced. You either are genuine, you are not. When Ann Richards says, quote, "Tonight I feel a little like I did when I played basketball in the 8th grade," unquote, You are instantly drawn into her world and empathize with her feelings and her views. You believe her and you trust her because she is trusting you with her own personal information and memories. This speech was full of personal anecdotes that resonated with the audience. They could associate with the stories either from their own experience or from their general, possibly idealized awareness of the past. This personal connection was the hallmark of an Ann Richards speech. She was one of you. You knew that what she was saying she felt. You could take her at her word. The Depression occupies a particular emotional position in the psyche of many Americans, as does Franklin Roosevelt. By associating with this point in history and with Roosevelt, Ann Richards forged a special link with the audience, a strong link that, given the emotional resonance, is virtually unbreakable. By saying, quote, "I was born during the Depression in a little community just outside Waco, and I grew up listening to Franklin Roosevelt on the radio," unquote. It made people listen to what she was about to say. They were on her side. Remembering a long time ago as a child listening to the adults around her, Ann Richards ensures that the people can trust her. Quote, "They talked straight talk, and it came from people who were living their lives as best as they could. And that's what we're going to do tonight," unquote. After that, the audience was ready to trust what she said. By relating the letter from a young mother in Laredo, Texas, detailing how she worries about how to pay for all the basic things her family needs, Ann Richards demonstrates that she shares these concerns. Although this may not work in every culture, it can be a useful way to connect on a personal level with the audience. The full impact comes when Ann Richards agrees with the young mother who worries that she and people like her have been forgotten. Quote, "Well, of course you believe you're forgotten, because you have been," unquote. Ann Richards was a female Democratic governor in an overwhelmingly Republican state, where the political machinery was, at the time, largely dominated by men. As treasurer and governor of Texas, she had an ability to cut through the tape and conventions to get stuff done and make things better. She modernized systems, made government more transparent and accountable, and appointed more minorities and women than all her predecessors. Her ready wit and public criticisms of her opponents won her support, but inevitably brought enemies. When, in 1994, George W. Bush replaced her as governor of Texas, there may have been more than a little air of satisfaction at getting revenge for her attacks against his father. Yet, it is fitting for a politician whose natural style was to connect with the people that the most important part of her legacy was that she empowered people. She made them feel listened to.
So when it comes right down to it, this election is a contest between those who are satisfied with what they have and those who know we can do better. That's what this election is really all about. It's about the American dream, those who want to keep it for the few, and those who know it must be nurtured and passed along. a grandmother now, and I have one nearly perfect granddaughter named Lily. And when I hold that grandbaby, I feel the continuity of life that unites us, that binds generation to generation, that ties us with each other. And sometimes I spread that Baptist pallet out on the floor, and Lily and I roll a ball back and forth. And I think of all the families like mine, like the one in Lorena, Texas, like the ones that nurture children all across America. And as I look at Lily, I know that it is within families that we learn both the need to respect individual human dignity and to work together for our common good. Within our families, within our nation, it is the same. And as I sit there, I wonder if she'll ever grasp the changes I've seen in my life, if she'll ever believe that there was a time when blacks could not drink from public water fountains, when Hispanic children were punished for speaking Spanish in the public schools, and women couldn't vote. I think of all the political fights I've fought and all the compromises I've had to accept as part payment. And I think of all the small victories that have added up to national triumphs, and all the things that would never have happened, and all the people who would have been left behind if we had not reasoned and fought and won those battles together. And I will tell Lily that those triumphs were Democratic Party triumphs. I want so much to tell Lily how far we've come, you and I. And as the ball rolls back and forth, I want to tell her how very lucky she is. That for all of our difference, we are still the greatest nation on this good earth. And our strength lies in the men and women who go to work every day, who struggle to balance their family and their jobs, and who should never, ever be forgotten. I just hope that, like her grandparents and her great-grandparents before, that Lily goes on to raise her kids with the promise that echoes in homes all across America, that we can do better. And that's what this election is all